Hi, this is Rob from DMBAlmanac.com with This Week in Dave Matthews Band History. And this week in 2011 in Atlantic City, DMB played the first of 4 scheduled Caravan stops. With the announcement of the fall 2010 tour, DMB gave notice that they'd be taking 2011 off from touring. However, in the spring, the band announced 12 shows over 4 weekends, complete with supporting acts. Their explanation was that they wanted to celebrate their 20th anniversary with the fans. The Caravans featured new covers, song returns, a breakneck tempo, and Night 3 of Atlantic City was released with bonus tracks from Nights 1 and 2. You can find all the Caravan and current tour set lists on DMBAlmanac.com. With facts like this week, Stay opened a show for the first time in almost 22 years. And follow us on Facebook and Threads to get daily updates with everything that happened that day in the band's history.
It's coming to me. Yeah, it's coming to me.
Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to The Space Between Podcast. Hey friends, it's Renae. Before we begin today's episode, I just want to take a moment to honor someone who has left an unforgettable mark on the world, on so many people's lives, on my life, and on this podcast. And honestly, to the Dave Matthews Band fan community. A few days ago, we lost our friend, Daniel Bauer. And like so many of you, I'm honestly just still trying to find the words. Dan was just a pure light. He was joy wrapped in generosity. I mean, those words to me are just Daniel Bauer. He lived with an open heart, and he made everyone around him feel like family. Even total strangers that he had never met before. And if you were lucky enough to know him, you know that he didn't just listen to the music of Dave Matthews Band. He literally lived it. The lyrics, the rhythms, the way the music brought people together, it spoke to his soul. And he believed in connection and kindness and the healing powers of a song played at just the right time. But of course, more than all of that, Daniel loved the people that this band brought together, and he found a family within this community like so many of us have. People accepted Daniel, people celebrated with him, and he showed up in big ways and in small ways for these people. Dan just radiated love in all that he did. And him and his crew will speak highly of like what he was known for going around and doing within not only our fan community, but outside of that and in the world. He just would walk around and bless people. And they would call that like bless them up. He would walk around and literally his goal was to bless someone. What an amazing way to live your life. And what a testament to each of us. He just would bless people randomly without any expectations that things were going to happen. And that meant a lot of different things. You know, it meant surprising somebody with just a kind message or literally just being fully present when they were speaking to him. And that's it's a gift to be able to do that, to give someone your whole attention and listen and hear what they are saying to you. Giving people that kind of time and attention is worth so much. But of course, he did more than that. He would just bless someone with concert tickets or people that already had tickets. He would bless them up and give them better tickets so that those people with tickets. They could bless someone else with those tickets. Daniel leaves behind all of this, but he leaves behind something so much more, his family. Kim, if you ever listen to this, and I know that you know that this is coming out because I asked for your permission before ever doing this. Kim, I know that you were his dream girl in every way, shape, and form. I had the honor of watching from the front row a lot of times in y'all's relationship, how you shared that with Justin and I. You shared your couple time with us, and the love that we saw between you two is something that we'll never forget. And Kim, I know that you will never forget the feeling that Daniel gave you. But of course, he leaves behind so many other of his family members. His mother, who I met and loved, she was Daniel's mom, and you could see where Daniel had gotten those traits from, because she loved people and she was so comfortable to be around. Even if you'd never met her before, these were the people that just made you feel at home, no matter where you were. Of course, he leaves behind his sisters and just a wide circle of people who called him brother or friend. He just leaves a massive hole in this community and in the hearts of many, many people who adored and loved him. And so in honor of his life and his love, I'm re-airing the episode where Daniel joined me on the Space Between podcast. He spoke so much into my life. He single-handedly made me believe in what I was doing was right, in making this podcast, in making the voice of the fans well known in what this band has done for our life. He texted me, he called me, he shared such enthusiasm about this podcast and really helped cheer me along the way, reminding me that this was important and it was worth doing. And sometimes it's hard work, but if you love something, the hard work is not that hard. So I leave with you the interview that Daniel and I had in his home in Vegas, Nevada, as he would say, his second home. His first was always New York, and second was Vegas. And so I'm so thankful for the time that I had with him in my life and in Justin's life, and for everyone that knew him. Just be so thankful for that time and the impact he made on our lives. But as we move forward, I know that grief is something that you can't prepare for. It's not something that you're taught, because grief is it's grief. Grief is love that has nowhere to go. And it takes time to move through that. There's no right way to grieve, but there is support. So if you need someone to talk to, whether Dan was one of your close personal friends, or whether in other areas of your life you've been moving through some grief, just know that you're not alone in your pain. The National Grief Support Hotline is 1-800-395-5755. You can also go to griefshare.org. You're part of a community, the same one that Daniel poured so much love into. Dan, I just want to thank you for sharing your light and your laughter and your love with us. You are deeply missed, but you will never be forgotten. And celebrate we will your life forever. Here's my conversation with Daniel Bauer. Peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between podcast, the podcast that talks about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. So today I have another guest with me who, of course, is a Dave Matthews Band fan. We have today Daniel Bauer. Thank you so much for letting us in your beautiful home. And we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, or should I call it the Dave in the room? This is a beautiful piece of art that Daniel has in his home. And so I feel like anyone that may be watching this is going to have some questions about like, where the hell, like how the hell can I get myself one? And guys, if you're just listening to this on your favorite podcast app, just know that we do have a YouTube channel. It's called The Space Between Podcast. And of course, you can access that through YouTube and you'll be able to visually see what we are talking about. It's a beautiful piece of artwork made out of cowhide. And so Daniel, thank you for coming on my show today. I'm going to have you tell us a couple of things, who you are, where we are, where do you live? And then let's talk about this piece of art, okay?
Thank you, Renae. My name is Daniel Bauer. Welcome to my house. This piece right here is a piece done by Kyle Bunting, and he is an amazing artist. And I had this commissioned. Also, a picture of this was provided by my buddy Kyle Priebe. We took a picture at a show, and it just resonated with us for a long time. And I thought, what better way to like capture that image? And Kyle just does a great job with, textures and perspective, and just it's an amazing piece. I love it.
So guys, if you are watching this on the YouTube channel, I've inserted a video that will show you the texture of this art. I think it's important that you see exactly how it's made because it is individually like pieced together each part, and there's so much texture. Again, this is made from cowhide, so it's almost like it's like a hairy, like shag carpet in some areas. And so, from the view that you are seeing here on YouTube, it looks like a flat, non-dimensional piece of art, but in real life, it has so much dimension and it's beautiful. So again, thank you so much for letting us do this podcast in this room. This is epic. Thank you so much. So I want you to tell me, like, where are we in the world? Like, where do you live? Where are you from? And like, how did you find the Dave Matthews Band? Or how did it find you, maybe?
So we're in Las Vegas, Nevada right now. Las Vegas, which is my secondary home right now. New York is always home. I'm from Thousand Islands, New York. And I fell in love with Dave at an early age in New York. A love from my sister and my first girlfriend. And my first show was 1996 in Darien Lake. It was June. And Darien Lake's a beautiful place. Six Flags is attached to it. So you can, go with the whole family. They can have a great time. And I just remember like it was yesterday. Best of What's Around. And I was hooked. Not only the live experience, obviously at a young age, you're trying to fit in, and I was always trying to fit in at a young age. And then I just realized I was different, and I knew they were different. And I got to see them at Woodstock in '99. And I think that experience changed everything, not only in music, but my entire life, but also my perspective on Dave and what the band just meant as a whole to me, and being on the road early before college, and then obviously traveling during college and seeing them a number of times. It never gets old. It never gets old.
It never does.
So New York's home, but Vegas is also home.
Awesome. So since you've been a fan since 1996, you said that was when your first show was, right?
Yes.
You've seen the evolution of the band. You've seen members go in and out. You've seen growth in the band. And obviously, we've all gotten older. The band has too. So you've seen them so much change within a band that is, for the most part, a lot like it was when it started. It's not. But, explain the evolution of the band from your perspective, from your eyes. Has it continued to get
better for you, or has it just been change? What are your thoughts on 32 years of the Dave Matthews Band?
No, it's a great question. I think Dave Matthews Band has evolved and changed probably more so than any other rock band that I can think of in history. They've kind of had, you can say, 2 or 3 different segments, and you can even break it up to more than that as far as I would say evolutionary changes within the band. I think this summer showed why they're the best, and also at the top of their game. I would put this summer tour up with any other summer tour. And that says a lot because they've had unbelievable years on the road. And I would, early 2000s, people would say 05, 06, 11, 12. Everybody's got kind of their favorite summer years. For some reason, just as the summer continued to go on, I was just like, there started just jumping years for me. And I think it was right before West Palm, after SPAC, I started moving them up a couple more, and I was just like, this could be ultimately, in my opinion, the best they've been. And I know, granted, we don't have all the original members, and we love, everybody that's been with Dave. I just think, for whatever reason, they're not only in the best physical shape of their life, but also probably the best playing shape. And now you have 5 years with Buddy, and it doesn't seem like they're holding back. It's just the opposite. I felt that Dave had a tremendous just chip on his shoulder this whole year, and for whatever reason felt like they had something to prove, and they did, and they played that every single night. There's not many years I can say that it didn't feel like some performances were a 5, 6, 7. Like, you can mail in a midweek performance, and I never felt like there was a performance that was even remotely close to being mailed in. It was just exact opposite. Just the love, the joy, the energy, the pockets that Carter can now create for Buddy. Everybody just seems to have found their role. Like, we don't get too much Tim, we don't get too much Buddy, we don't get too much horns, we don't get too little this, we don't get Carter trying to do too much or having to do too much, or Dave having to do too much. I felt like the balance was just so beautiful this year. And they always say the sum of all parts is great, and you could just see that everybody was just absolutely on their A game, and it was a joy to watch. It was just, a pleasure to see them, especially with the new album too. That's one thing to continually evolve with new band members, and then to produce, their first album together. And it was just a beautiful thing to watch each of those songs find a place within a set list and still have the flow that they're looking for. And I felt that they found that early on, right out the gates in Woodlands, and then continued that. And by Deer Creek, every song in the new album had a place. And you can't really say that about other album release years. And it allowed them to be super creative. And I thought you saw that in the second half of the tour schedule, where they could start faking out stuff. And when you have Bismarck and Satellite as your 2 main opening, songs this year, and, the fakes and the teases, and, we all know about the songs that they, fully started playing again. We saw it at SPAC with ABI, and one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. I mean, you could watch that video over and over again. I'm sorry, but a 15-second and a 13-second scream like that is just, soul quenching, and it's great to see that passion still, but just at a different level. Like I said, you got nothing to prove at that point. And it's like, but they felt like they had everything to prove. And that's what makes the greats, right? They write their own stories. And I think that you can put Dave right in that category with anybody.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And then, so obviously we listen to music outside of the Dave Matthews Band, and I've had the luck to see so many bands that have been around forever. And I want to say, like, the older the band got, I think the quality of the music maybe suffered a little bit with the growth of the band. And the Dave Matthews Band has proved just opposite of all that I've ever thought about bands and their history when they have, a duration like 32 years. You would think the music wouldn't be as good as it once was. But for me, I think with each year that this band goes on, it gets better, right? It just continues to get better. And that is like, that's the hook for me, right? Is like, where could it go? It seems like it's always, they're at the top of their game, but they're not. I don't think that they are at the top of their game yet. I think they have so much to prove, just like what you said. And with the addition of new band members, just, in 2018, I think, Buddy is he's a baby in the band so far. And I think he has goals and things he wants to do with the band. And the album that just came out, I think, this was his first to be included on. I'm correct with that, right? Yeah. And so I think, he's in for a long haul. And I think that the band is a long ways from saying we're almost done or we're close to a farewell tour. I don't think and how lucky are we though, right? To continue to get something and be able to watch it be so successful. So of course this podcast is about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. But what our platform is really just to talk about things outside of the Dave Matthews Band with like-minded people. Of course, we're both fans, and that's what brought us together. And so, of course, we talk about more than just the Dave Matthews Band. We like to talk about, what we're doing in our life to continue to love on others and leave a legacy of good work behind us. And again, that's the story that I'm telling within the Dave Matthews Band community. Or the fans have a story that is a story in itself, because I feel for the most part, we're really trying to love on others, improve the world that we live in, and we're hoping to live out the lyrics that Dave has wrote in all these songs. So I want you to tell us a little bit about who you are, what your passions are, because typically passions are what drive us, right? And so, yes, we know that we're passionate for the Dave Matthews Band, but outside of that, what are some passions that you would like to share with the listeners who are like-minded and maybe open to change or even just education in new topics? What are some of the passions that you would like to share with these listeners?
Thank you. I'm super passionate about a lot of things, but I'm passionate about everything I do. But I love what I do, and you've been around for the last few days, and you got to kind of see a little bit of what I do. And as you know, I was a teacher previously, and we talked about teaching for a while, and I love teaching. I taught special education for 5 years. And then I started working for myself when I was out in Maui, and I started down the entrepreneurial road as I got into SEO and started internet marketing, and really just was passionate about learning about how to help other people and how to grow their businesses. And it was just a different way of teaching, but also brought in my business mind. And from there, it was like wildfire. I started a couple companies. I sold them. I came back to Las Vegas. And then I just became passionate about things that I loved. And I was always trying to figure out how I could do what I love all the time. And I truly believe that if we do what we love and we continually do, the more that you continually do for others, I think is just the best definition of living. And so I believe my whole purpose is just to do and to continually do, and to help others as much as I can. And through that has led me down to various parts of my life that I'm just passionate about. And a lot of that is natural plant medicine. And my main company, Mitra Gaia, we're a kratom company, and kratom is an all-natural plant that is derived from the coffee and tea family, and it helps people in thousands of different ways, just like any other all-natural plant. And so whether it was marijuana or CBD or any other plant that people just didn't know about or wanted to know about, or I was trying to, educate myself on, I just started diving into the science of these plants and how they can naturally help people. And then at that point, it's like, how do you get these plants to people? And, similar to, starting podcasts or doing anything that we're not used to or new, it's a whole learning curve. And so not only the education part of it, but then applying it. And so I figured out how to take all the things that I was passionate about, and whether it was online and selling and helping people and, choosing what we put into our own bodies. And it all just kind of came full circle. And that's how Mitra Gaia was born. And that's then evolved into so many different things that I'm passionate about, that I spend my time and money on. But a lot of that starts with natural plants. And that's something I will continue to learn about. As we've seen, it's evolving in front of our eyes daily. And just the more that people are aware of what it actually does to your body and the understanding of it and the knowledge around that, people are more comfortable in that aspect. And we're talking about uncomfortable subjects now, declassification of drugs and stuff like psilocybin and mushrooms that are now legal, and people are talking about, and mental health. We weren't talking about mental health a few years ago openly, especially men. And now we go through a thing like COVID, and we bring some more science and some knowledge about mental health. And now people are more comfortable discussing it. And it's a beautiful thing to see with plants. And I'm excited to see not only where this, endeavor goes, but just the further education and the science. And the more we know about these things, it only helps us. And we talked about this a little bit ago, but those years of knowledge now in the science only help us. And science doesn't lie. And so that's the beautiful thing about, with numbers and science, right? And so, I feel that if there's a plan out there that can help people, whether it's to get off of pharmaceuticals and prescription drugs, addicted to pain medicine, et cetera. I mean, at the end of the day, people just want to live pain-free. And, there's a number of plants that can allow you to live pain-free without being debilitated in any way, and without having, problems of abuse or causing a number of side effects that are detrimental to your life at that point. And so kratom is one of those miracle plants that I saw help people that were really close to me, and it changed their life. And at that point, I was like, how do I get this in front of as many people as I can? And we continue to do that every single day. And the testimonies and the stories of the people who consume this and how it's affected and changed their life, gets me to jump. I jump out of bed every morning, eager to do more of that. And I think the more and more we can do and continue to help people like that, the better off we are. And we're all adults, and we can all make our own decisions. And I think it's important to know what we put in our bodies, and it's important how we treat our bodies. And I think it's smart and advantageous of us as a as the consumer base to just be open-minded to things that doctors can't prescribe to you. And there's other things besides that little white pill or that jagged little pill that can help you. And in my mind, I think there's a plant for all of that. Yeah. And so that natural soul medicine, I think, is, the ultimate healer. And there's a reason why, it's on Mother Earth. And that's why Gaia's around and will continue to be the leader in not only education, but also reform. And we'll continue to push the word about kratom and its positive effects, as well as other natural botanicals. And that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I love. And I still teach on those subjects. I just do it in a different way. Right. And that's usually through education now.
Okay, so that's one of the things Daniel and I kind of liked about each other, was that we both appreciate education. Of course, my background in nursing, my goal, my job is to educate people about what they're taking. And personally, I'm such an all-natural person. Of course, I've shared this in my podcast before. I'm very open to medicinal marijuana, recreational marijuana. And the reason why I'm open-minded to that is because I understand the science and what it unlocks in your brain and the chemistry of how it works. And so it wasn't until the moment that I understood it from an education standpoint that I really started to want to try to see if it worked. And of course it did for me. I'm sure it doesn't work for everyone, but not all medicine is for everyone. And so that is what I liked about you, was that your goal was to not just push hey, try this, hey, try this. It was, let me educate you about this. Let me tell you how this works. And if you want to try it, great, I will lead the way for you. But if you don't want to, you're not going to push it on them, right? Because things do tend to work better when you believe in what you're doing. So let's talk about kratom. Let's talk about where is it sourced from? What exactly is that? Because as a listener that maybe has never heard of this before, that would be their first question, is what exactly are you talking about? I've never heard of this before. Where is it available? And how would you know if you're a candidate for that?
So kratom is primarily grown in Southeast Asia. With that said, it is found in those same kind of temperate zones in a few places in the world. So it could be grown in places like Hawaii and Vietnam. So a basic rainforest type of environment. And I source all of my kratom from Southeast Asia. We partner with a number of clans and farmers who harvest these huge leaves that are grown on trees that will go 100, 150 feet up in canopies. And these, you picture a tea leaf, but the size anywhere of my hand to the size of a truck. Wow. And so the leaves grow rather large in size. They're dry just like any other typical tea leaf is, and then processed. And then you can buy them anywhere in the U.S. for the most part. So you can get them at herbal Chinese shops. You can get them at any smoke shop. You can get kratom at. Unfortunately, it created a spot for it in the smoke chain, the smoke shop chains. You should be able to get it at places like Herbally Grounded and your natural herbal store. But you can also get them at Whole Foods and stuff like that in a lot of places soon. They're also in vitamin shops, etc. But it's accessible online. I import it, and then we manufacture it here in the United States. And then there's different forms. You tried a kratom seltzer the other day. That was really yummy. And then you can take it in a form of a pill capsule. There's extracts, there's liquids, etc. And like we talked about, it's similar to your coffee or your tea routine. So if you drink coffee in the morning, you could incorporate it with your morning routine as a pick-me-up. If you're looking to Now, the FDA will say that there is no cause relationship for kratom. There's no beneficial use for kratom, right? But as we talked about, it's considered a food. And so we educate people about what they put into their bodies as far as food. And people do take said food, kratom, to alleviate different problems. And so some use it for pain, some use it for mental health reasons. Some people use it to lose weight. Some people use it for focus and energy. And so the nice thing about that plant is it binds to the opioid receptors in your body, and it takes it to sites of inflammation and pain. And if you don't have inflammation or pain, then it knows that. And so if you need a little bit of an energy pickup, like you would with coffee or green tea, it has that. If you're looking for that increased metabolism, that it has that without the crash, without the caffeinated shakes. It has a nice consistency, a nice flow where it does last for 4 to 6 hours, and then it's out of your body. And so people who are in acute pain will take it 2 to 3 times a day as needed, just like you would as if you use Tylenol for the same thing. But we know how Tylenol can affect us. And so they can take kratom, and it's not going to have the same effects on your livers and organs. And it's a miracle plant. There's a lot of bad information on it. There's a lot of good information out there on it. And I just ask that, people who start to educate themselves on kratom. I had a guy that came up to me at the show, the last show a few weeks ago, and I told him about kratom 1.5 years ago, and he didn't take it. And then I told him about it again, and he was telling me all these things. I was like, you're the perfect candidate for kratom. You're taking all these pain pills. You gained all this weight. You're telling me you've lost your zest for life, and you're grasping at you're coming to me for help. And I'm telling you, you're the perfect candidate for this. If you start taking this, you will stop taking these pain pills. You will lose that weight. You will have increased energy. You're going to want to jump out of bed. You're going to get your life back. And I saw him, and he ran up to me, and he was 70 pounds lighter. And he was like, you sent me that package because I didn't go get it, but you knew that if it was in front of me, I would educate myself on it, because he's really smart. And he did. He knew everything about it. He came up to me. He knew his routine. This is what I do for breakfast. This is what I do for lunch. This is, I take a white, I take a green, I take a red. And he looked unbelievable. You could just tell he had his life back. And we get hundreds of those emails and testimonies a day. And it's stories like that continue the reform for education and for science. And, we have a grant out with University of Florida and NIDA, National Institute of Drug Abuse. And we're doing kratom studies on humans and on mice. And we're pushing the science, because you can't overdose on it. There's been no deaths related to strictly kratom. And so when you have a plant that works that well, it scares big pharma.
Yeah.
And because it works is the reason why they didn't want it around in 2016, and they tried to make it a Schedule I drug. And for the first time ever in USA history, that was denied. And so it's great to be part of a movement and a part of a niche in natural plant medicine, where you can start to see that the education reform for marijuana and CBD and the struggles that we've had with other all-natural plants start to finally help us and create some more momentum for these plants that have been around for hundreds of years. And just because they weren't brought into the United States, it doesn't mean that it wasn't traditional medicine, and that it doesn't have use, and that it doesn't have benefit, and that it should fall under the DSHEA Act, and it should fall under a dietary supplement or ingredient. It should fall into those choices where we as Americans, or we as human beings, can choose what we put in our bodies. And that's our ultimate right, is we get to pick what we put in our own bodies. and we should be able to pick and choose kratom if we need be. And that's the voice that we're going to continue to push for our consumers, and it's a voice that needs to be heard, because these politicians and these people that are pushing policies, they're not necessarily hearing all these grassroots efforts and people's behind these campaigns. And the more I've moved up into the political part of it and seen the political side of it, it's pretty nasty. And these laws and stuff, a lot of things are lumped right in and written, and you get stuff like kratom. It's banned in certain states because it was lumped in with stuff that they were really trying to stop. And that's good. That's good. You should try to stop bath salts. But just because people are abusing bath salts doesn't mean that they're going to smoke kratom or shoot kratom. And so you steep it like a coffee and you stir it and you drink it. And so just getting rid of those bad connotations and ideas around really any natural plant. Again, we can use it recreationally, right? And it can be abused. Sure. But to know that you can abuse marijuana recreationally and not die.
Exactly. Key point.
And not die. It makes it a different understanding as far as a drug. Mm-hmm. And that's why, I'll never refer to marijuana as a drug. Is it classified? Sure. But is it a plant? Yes. Is it natural? Yes. And is it a medicine? Yes. And so there's just different definitions and that you can put around it, and you don't have to call it a drug. And it's a natural plant for me, and it's near and dear to my heart. We've talked about this before, but education reform for marijuana was one of the first things that got me into the path that I'm on now with kratom. And we now have a federally recognized bill, the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, that was just passed here a few weeks ago. And that protects consumers from the FDA and other people who are saying you can't consume kratom. And so the Kratom Consumer Protection Act is that in place because there are states that if you have a bag of kratom, they can give you a felony for it. And it's just absolutely insane to me that you can walk around with a tea leaf and that does no harm to you and you can go to jail for it. And so the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, we'll start to see unveil in those other states that we are having overturned. The nice thing is we haven't lost a battle with kratom since 2016. And so we're starting to legalize in every single state. The reforms out there, the education out there, the movements out there, and the American Kratom Association has a great insight and a trajectory as far as a path to success. And I know we're going to get there. And I'm excited to be on the front lines with the rest of the people in the herbal products and natural medicine movement. And I think it's important to continually do that for the rest of my life. And whatever that looks like, that'll continue to change. But again, I learn every single day. And it's an amazing thing about science and plants is we get to find out more and more about them. And I'm excited to see, where this leads kratom. And I'm excited because of what we've seen with marijuana and some of these other things like CBD and the Farm Bill. And it's exciting to, like you said, a great time to be alive, right?
It is.
Great time to be alive.
It is. So if someone's listening to this and they're really interested in knowing more, and of course we both preach education is key, what would be some good online sites for them to actually get correct education about kratom?
I would check out the American Kratom Association, AKA the American Kratom Association has a beautiful science, fact, data, safety sheet. Everything on their website is the truth. And it's a great one-stop shop for knowledge and information and educational resources for kratom.
Awesome. Okay, so let's move in. So obviously, you're more than just Dave Matthews Band. You're more than just kratom. You actually want, as you've said, to continually try to do good in the world. So let's talk about Baller Dream Foundation. So that's something that I know is, of course, one of your passions, near and dear to your heart, and that you work on a regular basis. So tell us what that is and where it started and what its purpose is.
So Baller Dream Foundation is my buddy Frank DeBlasi's nonprofit organization, and I work hand in hand with them. And what we do is we provide support for kids that are fighting cancer. And we provide support not only for their family, we provide support during treatment, post-treatment, in and out of the home, because we know that obviously your support system and the mental fortitude that you need to beat something like cancer is a multi-pronged approach. And the one thing that the Baller Dream Foundation does, I think, better than most any cancer foundation is they have a multifaceted approach to treatment. And they also, we incorporate people who are outliers. And so my buddy had testicular cancer as an adult, and you're kind of off the radar at that point. So all of our kids are kind of off the radar, and we call them ballers because ballers are somebody that's balling out. When you think of a baller, you think of somebody that's living that lifestyle, and you can look at our kids and you would think they're living that lifestyle, and they are. And it's that mindset that they accept and they go into these things with a no-lose attitude. And with the support of Baller Dream Foundation and our sponsors, we use every single dollar that we raise for that treatment, and we affect so many kids' lives. We change their lives. We save a lot of lives, and it takes an entire community of nurses and practitioners and community workers and moms and dads and teachers. And it's a really beautiful thing to watch a community come together and rally around kids with cancer. And we started in New York. We now have 6 states that are open. Las Vegas right here is one of the second founding chapters of it. It's headquartered in Arizona, and there's events literally monthly. Alabama, New Jersey, New York, Nevada, Arizona. I'm missing one state, California. And Frank does a marvelous job promoting Baller Dream Foundation. And if you can ever check it out, we host an event at SPAC every single year. It used to be called Balls Fest. We had it at one of the pavilions. It's an unbelievable time. We raise a lot of money. We have amazing people there, food, drinks, and best of all, you get to see the kids. You get to see the progress. You get to hear from the community. You get to hear from the families. And then we roast them. We absolutely roast them. And it's just like watching Comedy Central roast. It's the best time. We get to learn everything about these kids. We get to spend time with them and become part of their families. And it's a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful foundation. And my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer and had it come back as well. And so to go through that with her, and it really hits at home when you see kids that don't have a choice. Kids don't deserve cancer. And so we need help. We need money. Cancer is a nasty thing. Everybody that's listening has been affected in one way, shape, or form by cancer. And it's one of those things that we're close to, and we need more money. We need more education. We need more science behind it. And it's a beautiful thing to watch somebody overcome and then do all those things that they maybe had given up on. And I hope that I hope that we can continue to expand into every single state. And the mission of the Ball Our Dream Foundation is incredible. You can check them out at ballourdreamfoundation.org, and definitely check out an event. And if you're a Dave Matthews fan, there is not many bigger fans than Frank DeBlasi. He's a huge Dave fan. I see him at almost every show for years. He's an incredible, incredible man and with an incredible mission.
All right, guys. So again, if you are listening to this on your favorite podcast app, just know that you can watch this on YouTube at the Space Between podcast. So this is episode 62, and I can't even believe that I'm saying that. So if this is your first time to watch the Space Between, just know that there are 61 other episodes. Most of them are available on YouTube, but some of them right from the beginning are just podcasts. So thank you, Daniel, so much for being part of the podcast that I am trying to create, just this, platform for like-minded people, and that is Dave Matthews fans, having a way to really get to people that we know are like-minded, and that we can talk about things without necessarily or without showing hate, right? We're just going to educate people, love on others. And if you don't agree, or if you don't understand, or if you're against everything we're saying, that's okay. It's not for everyone, right? But our job is to just make sure that if you're educated, you can make better decisions. And of course, that leads to a better, healthier life. And so that's what we're doing here on the podcast. So if you're interested in sharing your story, your journey, definitely hit me up at kissonthelipsmeyer@gmail.com. And guys, Daniel, thank you so much. You'll be sure to see him. I'm sure you'll be at 2024 gigs, right? Like, that's the plan, right?
2023. Yeah, what are you talking? We got 2023. Absolutely.
So you're going to do the fall tour, and then of course Europe is next. And then you know what? I'm sure there's Mexico after that. And then there's the next summer. So we're never been a better time to be alive, right? This is a great year. And so guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. Dan, thank you so much for being peace, love, and Dave Matthews fan.